Good times, great music too when you are FM 103.7. Time to have a look at some of the things happening in the world of politics, and we do that with Dr. Jim Jose from the University of Newcastle. And Jim, today we really are taking a look at the world. We're heading to the continent of Africa, where we haven't really spent a lot of time in recent months, but we'll head there today for a very important reason. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mark. Yes, it's not been widely reported, but it has been reported in a number of areas in Australia that Niger, which had a military coup back in July, overturning its constitutionally elected government, but the military junta that's taken over Niger has basically said to the US, you need to remove your base, you need to get your personnel out of here. Now, Niger is a really sort of place that many people won't have heard of. It's not to be sort of confused with Nigeria. It's located, in fact, Nigeria is on its southern border, but Niger is a landlocked country, huge country. Its northern borders are Libya and Algeria, western borders of Mali, down to the south, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and to the east, Chad. It's a huge space, about 1.3 million square kilometres, I think. I think it's square kilometres. So it's big. It's also a bit of a battleground for rival factions. The Islamic State and Al-Qaeda are very active in the region.
So very much not the most stable place in the world.
No. Now, the US have two bases there. One in particular, which they only established in 2012, but it's basically its eyes and ears in sort of Africa. In many respects, it's a drone base, and it operates a lot of its sort of drone activity from there. So it's a relatively important base in its global network. How important remains to be seen. But according to the Nigerian military government, the US sent a delegation to Niger to negotiate and to talk about the base and the Nigerian coup. Now, the US declared it a coup in August and basically said, let it be known that they were unhappy about the military takeover and the country needs to get back on a more democratic footing. But the Nigerian military basically said, you can't come in here and tell us what to do. We are a sovereign nation and we're not accepting you telling us what to do. We reject your claim that we are in cahoots with Iran over nuclear-type issues. So basically the US was sort of told to pack up and leave.
As a few other states have also been recent, was it the French and the United Nations as well have also had similar messages in recent months?
Certainly the French were trying to intervene in a couple of places of their former colonies, of which Niger is sort of part of it. The economic cooperation of West African states, ECOWAS, basically Niger has pulled out, as has Burkina Faso and Mali. They've kicked the French out and said, you're not welcome, because of various attempts by the French to, shall we say, guide those countries into particular courses of action. Interestingly, both Burkina Faso and Mali have developed much closer ties with Russia, and it looks like Niger may also be heading in that direction. There were rumours about Wagner Enterprises, the mercenary organisation that had ties with Russia as well, being involved in advising and assisting the Nigerian government, but which the Nigerian government at the moment, the military government, rejects. Exactly what's going on there is another issue. So, yeah, it's
so it's a bit going on. So, in short, before time gets us, Jim, with that part of the world shifting a little bit, and towards potentially Iran, potentially as well, with those other militant organisations, terrorist organisations hovering as well. What does that look like for near to medium future for that part of the world?
Predictions are always fraught, and I'm not going to make one. But but what I will say, Mark, is that we're talking about the US as a nation with a global empire of bases all over the world. Some of them are more important than others. And the implications that might follow by not having its access in Niger is what will that mean then for the way in which the US global military machine is able to function? And will being forced out, if indeed they are forced out, or will it turn around and we, in a few months we read about a change of government happening in Niger as a consequence? Will the US, intervene in shall we say, a overt way or a more covert way? How will this play out in terms of relationships within other Africa, within Africa itself, and the relationships between Nigeria, and further east in areas where the US also has a strong presence? But the importance of the base, if they lose that, what will that then mean for its ability to monitor what goes on, and in particular around the internecine fighting between Al-Qaeda and Islamic State as they battle for, shall we say, ascendancy to try and have influence and control over the Muslim populations in the region.
All right, one to watch on the chessboard. Jim, as always, thank you for your time. We'll catch you next time you're here.
My pleasure, Mark.
Here he is, our Professor of Politics from University of Newcastle, Dr. Jim Jose, on 2NURFM 103.7.
A broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.